So, King Charles unexpectedly called off the entire Garter Day procession, and the explanation behind it has quickly become one of the most talked about royal controversies in recent memory. Everything centers around a startling incident in which Queen Camilla allegedly attempted to place herself directly between Prince William and Princess Catherine in full view of the cameras. Charles reportedly reacted immediately, raising his hand, stopping the procession, and correcting her publicly before an audience that included media outlets from around the world. That kind of public intervention is highly unusual within royal circles. It suggests that whatever tensions existed behind palace walls had reached a point where they could no longer remain hidden. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to Crown Watch so you never miss the latest royal developments. What makes this story even more intriguing is that the public moment may have been only the final chapter of a much larger dispute. According to palace sources, the real drama began nearly 2 weeks before the procession itself. Insiders claim this wasn't simply a misunderstanding over positions or protocol. Instead, it was allegedly part of a deliberate effort to reduce Catherine's visibility during the event and move attention away from her. The story reportedly began during a private rehearsal held 12 days before the ceremony inside St. George's Hall at Windsor. The atmosphere was formal and tense as members of the royal family reviewed their assigned positions and camera arrangements. Large monitoring screens displayed how the procession would appear during the broadcast. According to reports, Camilla became increasingly focused on Catherine throughout the rehearsal. Every appearance Catherine made on the monitors seemed to draw attention naturally. She wasn't making any effort to stand out. She was simply present. Yet observers claimed this visibility frustrated Camilla, who felt overshadowed by the popularity of the younger generation. Sources suggest that this frustration eventually led Camilla to raise concerns about the procession layout. She allegedly proposed changes that would move Catherine farther back in the formation, reducing her prominence during the televised event. The goal, according to these reports, was to shift the spotlight toward the King and Queen while limiting Catherine's exposure to viewers. That is where Prince William reportedly became involved. Standing nearby during the rehearsal, William is said to have overheard the discussion. Rather than ignoring it, he allegedly walked directly toward the technical team and confronted the situation immediately. Witnesses claim he made it clear that Catherine would remain beside him and that no adjustments would be made to separate them during the ceremony. The atmosphere reportedly became tense as staff members watched the exchange unfold. Open disagreements of this nature are rare within royal operations, making the moment particularly striking. William's position was clear: Catherine's role would not be diminished, and any attempt to push her into the background would not be accepted. Reports suggest that Camilla left the rehearsal visibly unhappy after the confrontation. While nothing further happened publicly at that time, insiders claim the disagreement did not end there. Instead, it may have marked the beginning of an even larger conflict that would eventually erupt on the day of the procession itself. After that rehearsal confrontation, the situation reportedly became far more serious behind palace walls. Sources claim that while William believed the matter had been settled, Camilla had no intention of backing down. Instead, she allegedly became even more determined to alter the outcome of the ceremony. According to insiders, the morning of the procession began with unusual activity behind the scenes. While preparations were underway across Windsor, an alternative version of the procession plan was allegedly being discussed in private. Reports suggest that a revised placement chart appeared shortly before the event, one that differed from the official arrangement approved during rehearsals. The alleged change centered on the positioning of Prince William and Princess Catherine. According to claims, the revised layout would have placed greater distance between them while creating additional space for Camilla near the center of the formation. If implemented, it would have significantly altered the visual presentation seen by viewers around the world. Sources say concerns began spreading among palace staff when questions arose regarding the authenticity of the document. Some reportedly noticed differences between the revised chart and the official version used during earlier planning sessions. However, with the ceremony only hours away, few people were willing to challenge the changes directly. Meanwhile, Camilla reportedly appeared calm and confident as preparations continued. Observers claimed she seemed convinced that everything was unfolding according to plan. Behind the scenes, however, William was allegedly becoming aware that something unusual was taking place. Reports suggest that he had already been monitoring developments following the earlier rehearsal dispute. Having sensed that tensions remained unresolved, he reportedly instructed trusted aides to pay close attention to any last-minute adjustments connected to the procession. As a result, William is said to have learned about the disputed chart before the ceremony began. According to insiders, This discovery confirmed his suspicions that attempts were still being made to alter the arrangement involving Catherine. What happened next would allegedly set the stage for the dramatic confrontation that later unfolded in front of the world. On the morning of the event, Windsor was filled with excitement. Crowds gathered along the streets carrying flags and cameras while international broadcasters prepared for live coverage. The atmosphere reflected the tradition and prestige associated with one of the monarchy's most important ceremonial occasions. As members of the royal family assembled and the procession prepared to move forward, few people in the crowd had any idea that a dispute had reportedly been unfolding behind the scenes for nearly 2 weeks. Everything appeared normal, at least for a few moments. Then, according to witnesses, events began to take a very unexpected turn. The procession moved forward with all the usual ceremony and precision. Crowds cheered from behind barriers, cameras followed every movement, and viewers around the world watched as members of the royal family advanced towards St. George's Chapel. Everything appeared carefully organized, exactly as expected for such a historic occasion. But according to reports, the calm atmosphere would not last. As the procession approached one of the most visible sections of the route, observers noticed unexpected movement within the formation. Sources claim that Camilla suddenly altered her position and moved closer to the space occupied by Prince William and Princess Catherine. Witnesses allege that she stepped forward in a way that placed herself directly between the Prince and Princess of Wales. The move reportedly disrupted the arrangement that had been agreed upon during rehearsals and immediately drew attention from those watching nearby. For a brief moment, confusion spread through the formation. Then something remarkable allegedly happened. King Charles reportedly stopped walking. According to accounts from those present, he raised his hand and brought the procession to an abrupt halt. The sudden pause caught everyone off guard. Officials, guests, and members of the media reportedly watched in silence as Charles stepped away from his designated position. Sources claim the king then directed his attention toward Camilla. Observers describe his expression as unusually serious. Rather than allowing the situation to continue, Charles allegedly instructed her to return to her assigned place within the formation. The order was reportedly delivered clearly enough that nearby officials immediately understood what was happening. For those watching, the moment was astonishing. Royal events are carefully choreographed, and public corrections of senior family members are exceptionally rare. The fact that the procession had been interrupted at all quickly became a major talking point among those present. According to reports, Camilla appeared visibly surprised by the king's reaction. Witnesses claimed that what had begun as a confident move suddenly turned into an uncomfortable public moment as cameras continued broadcasting every second. Meanwhile, William reportedly moved closer to Catherine as the situation unfolded. Sources say the couple remained calm and composed while officials worked to restore the procession to its intended order. Within moments, the formation was reorganized and the ceremony continued. However, the incident had already been seen by thousands of spectators and millions of viewers following the broadcast. Questions immediately began circulating about what had caused the disruption and why Charles had felt compelled to intervene so publicly. Yet according to insiders, the real drama was still waiting behind closed doors. Because once the procession ended and the royal family entered the chapel, attention reportedly shifted from public ceremony to private confrontation. And that is where the most explosive part of the story allegedly began. Inside the chapel, away from the cameras and public attention, the atmosphere reportedly became far more tense. According to sources, the moment the doors closed behind the royal party, questions about what had happened during the procession began surfacing immediately. Witnesses claimed that Camilla was visibly upset following the public interruption. After being instructed to return to her original position in front of a worldwide audience, she reportedly felt embarrassed and frustrated by the way events had unfolded. According to insiders, she confronted Charles and questioned why he had chosen to correct her so openly during such an important ceremony. The discussion allegedly became heated as both sides attempted to explain their actions. However, reports suggest that the conversation quickly shifted away from the public incident itself and toward the events that had occurred behind the scenes before the procession. This is where William reportedly entered the discussion. Sources claim that he had been gathering information for days following the earlier rehearsal disagreement. Rather than relying on assumptions, he allegedly wanted proof of what had been taking place regarding the procession arrangements. According to palace insiders, William presented evidence suggesting that unauthorized changes had been made to the official formation plan shortly before the ceremony began. These claims reportedly surprised several people in the room. Witnesses allege that documents connected to the procession were brought forward and compared against the approved versions used during rehearsals. Differences between the two were reportedly highlighted, leading to further questions about how the alterations had occurred. As the discussion continued, tensions reportedly escalated. Sources claim that William remained firm throughout the exchange, insisting that the attempted changes were not accidental mistakes but deliberate efforts to interfere with the agreed-upon arrangements. He reportedly argued that the situation had gone far beyond a simple misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Catherine is said to have remained calm despite the growing tension around her. Observers noted that she avoided becoming involved in the emotional exchanges and instead allowed others to address the accusations being discussed. According to reports, Charles listened carefully as details of the dispute were presented. Having already witnessed the public disruption during the procession, he reportedly wanted a full explanation before reaching any conclusions. The atmosphere inside the room allegedly became increasingly uncomfortable as more information emerged. For those present, it was no longer simply a disagreement over ceremonial positioning. The discussion had reportedly evolved into a broader conflict involving trust, loyalty, and the future direction of the royal family itself. By the end of the meeting, insiders claim it had become clear that relationships within the household had suffered significant damage. And according to those same reports, the decisions made after that confrontation would have consequences that extended far beyond a single day's ceremony. Following the confrontation, reports suggest that significant decisions were made within a very short period of time. According to insiders, Charles was no longer focused solely on the public incident itself. Instead, attention reportedly shifted toward determining who had been responsible for the confusion surrounding the procession arrangements. Sources claim that palace officials began reviewing the chain of events that led to the disputed formation changes. Questions were allegedly raised about who had authorized certain adjustments and how those modifications had managed to reach operational staff before the ceremony. As the review continued, several individuals reportedly found themselves under increased scrutiny. According to reports, aides connected to ceremonial planning were asked to explain discrepancies between official documents and the versions that had appeared shortly before the event. The investigation reportedly focused on establishing exactly when the changes had been introduced and who had benefited from them. Meanwhile, insiders claimed that tensions between William and Camilla had reached a new level. Observers noted that trust between the two had already been fragile for years, but this incident reportedly deepened the divide even further. What had once been private disagreements were now becoming impossible to ignore. Sources suggest that Charles understood the seriousness of the situation. As king, he reportedly recognized that public confidence in the monarchy depended on unity and discipline. Any perception of internal conflict could create lasting damage to the institution's reputation. Because of that, reports indicate that several corrective measures were discussed behind closed doors. While details vary depending on the source, many accounts suggest that changes were made regarding future ceremonial planning and the involvement of certain advisors. The goal, according to insiders, was to prevent similar disputes from emerging again during major royal appearances. At the center of all these discussions remained Catherine. Interestingly, observers noted that she avoided commenting publicly on the controversy. While headlines and speculation continued to spread across media outlets, Catherine reportedly maintained her usual composure and carried out her responsibilities without addressing the accusations directly. That approach only appeared to strengthen public support for her. According to commentators, many people viewed her calm response as evidence of confidence and restraint. Rather than becoming involved in public arguments, she allowed the situation to unfold without reacting emotionally. William, on the other hand, was reportedly far more direct. Sources claim he viewed the entire episode as an attack not only on Catherine but also on the future role both of them would eventually hold within the monarchy. For that reason, insiders say he had no intention of allowing the matter to be quietly forgotten. As discussions continued behind palace walls, one thing reportedly became increasingly clear. This was no longer simply a disagreement about a procession. It had evolved into a larger struggle over influence, authority, and the future direction of the royal family itself. And according to many observers, the consequences of that struggle were only beginning to emerge. According to insiders, the biggest impact of the entire controversy was not the procession itself but the shift in power dynamics that followed. What happened during those days reportedly exposed tensions that had been building inside the royal household for years. Observers point out that the monarchy is currently going through a period of transition. King Charles represents the present, but Prince William and Princess Catherine represent the future. That reality has become increasingly clear with every public appearance they make together. Sources claim that this changing balance has created quiet competition behind the scenes. While senior members of the family continue performing their duties, public attention often gravitates toward William and Catherine. Their popularity, influence, and visibility continue to grow with each passing year. For some royal insiders, the alleged procession dispute was simply another example of that broader shift. According to reports, William viewed the situation as more than a disagreement over ceremonial positioning. He reportedly saw it as a challenge to the role he and Catherine are expected to assume in the future. Protecting that position, sources say, became one of his highest priorities. That may explain why he reacted so firmly when concerns first surfaced. Rather than treating the matter as palace gossip, William reportedly approached it as a serious issue that required immediate attention. Insiders claim he wanted to make it absolutely clear that attempts to undermine Catherine would not be tolerated. Meanwhile, public reaction continued to intensify. Across social media and news outlets, discussions about the incident spread rapidly. Supporters of Catherine praised her calm behavior throughout the controversy, while others debated what the reported conflict revealed about relationships inside the royal family. One detail repeatedly mentioned by commentators was Catherine's refusal to engage publicly. Despite the headlines, speculation, and growing attention, she reportedly maintained her normal schedule and avoided becoming involved in public disputes. Many observers viewed that restraint as one of her greatest strengths. According to royal analysts, that approach contrasts sharply with the increasingly dramatic narratives surrounding palace conflicts. While others became caught up in controversy, Catherine continued focusing on her duties without responding to every accusation or rumor. At the same time, Charles reportedly found himself in a difficult position. As both king and husband, he faced competing responsibilities. On one hand, he needed to preserve harmony within the family. On the other, he needed to protect the institution itself from unnecessary damage. Sources suggest that balancing those priorities became increasingly challenging as the situation unfolded. For many observers, that is what makes this story so fascinating. Beneath the headlines and dramatic allegations lies a deeper question about leadership, loyalty, and the future of the monarchy. And according to insiders, those questions remain far from settled. If anything, the events surrounding the Garter Day controversy may have revealed just how much change is taking place behind palace walls, and how significant the roles of William and Catherine are becoming as the next chapter of the royal family begins to take shape. What makes the story even more significant is the message many people believe it sends about the future of the monarchy. Whether every detail is accurate or not, the narrative has resonated because it touches on themes that audiences have been discussing for years: succession, influence, loyalty, and the growing prominence of William and Catherine. According to royal observers, William and Catherine now occupy a unique position within the institution. They are no longer viewed simply as senior working royals. Increasingly, they are seen as the figures who will eventually define the next era of the monarchy. That perception has only strengthened over time. Whenever the couple appears in public, attention naturally follows them. Crowds gather, headlines focus on their activities, and discussions quickly shift toward their future roles. Analysts have repeatedly noted that their popularity extends far beyond the United Kingdom, giving them a level of international visibility few royals achieve. Sources suggest that this growing influence has altered the internal balance of the royal household. For years, discussions about the monarchy centered primarily on Charles and the transition following Queen Elizabeth's reign. Today, however, many conversations focus on what comes next. The spotlight is gradually moving toward William and Catherine, and that shift is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Some commentators believe the alleged Garter Day incident highlighted that reality more clearly than ever. According to reports, William's response demonstrated a willingness to defend both his family and his future role within the institution. Rather than remaining passive, he reportedly took decisive action when he believed Catherine was being treated unfairly. That determination has become a defining characteristic of his public image. Observers often describe William as someone who combines patience with firmness. He rarely engages in public disputes, but when important issues arise, he is willing to take a clear position. Supporters argue that this balance could prove valuable as he prepares for greater responsibilities in the years ahead. Meanwhile, Catherine continues to attract admiration for a very different reason. Rather than seeking attention, she often appears most effective when she remains calm during periods of controversy. According to royal commentators, her ability to remain composed under pressure has become one of her greatest strengths. Throughout the speculation surrounding this story, that reputation only appeared to grow stronger. While others were associated with conflict and controversy, Catherine remained linked to stability and professionalism. Many observers believe that contrast played a major role in shaping public perceptions of the entire situation. As for Charles, reports suggest that the incident served as a reminder of the challenges facing his reign. Balancing family relationships, public expectations, and institutional responsibilities is never simple, especially when tensions emerge among senior members of the royal family. For that reason, many analysts believe the consequences of this controversy may continue long after the procession itself has faded from the headlines. Because in the end, the story is not really about a parade. It is about influence. It is about trust. And perhaps most importantly, it is about who will shape the monarchy as it moves into the future. As discussions continued, attention increasingly shifted toward what the controversy revealed about the future direction of the royal family. While headlines focused on the alleged confrontation itself, many observers believe the bigger story involved the changing balance of influence within the monarchy. According to royal commentators, moments like these often expose tensions that remain hidden from public view. Behind the ceremonial appearances, official statements, and carefully managed events, complex relationships continue to shape decision-making at the highest levels of the institution. For years, William and Catherine have been preparing for greater responsibilities. Their public roles have expanded steadily, their international profile has grown, and their influence within the royal structure has become increasingly apparent. Many analysts believe this transition is already underway, even if it has not yet been formally acknowledged. As a result, every major royal event is now viewed through a different lens. Observers no longer focus solely on the present leadership of the monarchy. Increasingly, they are examining what the next generation represents and how that future will eventually take shape. According to sources, that shift has not gone unnoticed within palace circles. The growing popularity of William and Catherine continues to attract attention both inside and outside the institution. Public engagement figures, media coverage, and international interest frequently place them at the center of discussions about the monarchy's future. Because of that, even relatively small disagreements can quickly take on larger significance. What might otherwise be viewed as a procedural issue becomes interpreted as part of a broader conversation about influence, visibility, and succession. That is one reason stories like this continue generating such intense public interest. Many royal watchers argue that the appeal lies in the human element. At its core, the narrative is not really about ceremonial positions or procession routes. Instead, it reflects familiar themes that people understand immediately: ambition, loyalty, family conflict, and the struggle for recognition. Those themes resonate far beyond royal circles. Whether discussing governments, corporations, or families, similar dynamics appear wherever power and responsibility overlap. That universal aspect may explain why stories involving the royal family continue capturing global attention. Meanwhile, William and Catherine have largely maintained their focus on public duties. Despite ongoing speculation, they continue appearing at official engagements and carrying out responsibilities associated with their roles. Supporters often point to that consistency as evidence of their long-term approach. Rather than responding to every controversy, they allow actions to speak louder than headlines. For many observers, that strategy has proven effective. As public interest grows, their reputation increasingly centers on stability, continuity, and preparation for the future. Those qualities are often cited as key reasons why they remain among the most popular members of the royal family. And according to analysts, that popularity may become even more important in the years ahead. Because regardless of how this particular controversy is remembered, one reality appears increasingly difficult to ignore. The future of the monarchy is approaching faster than ever, and William and Catherine are moving steadily toward the center of that future. The long-term impact of this situation may ultimately matter more than the incident itself. Royal controversies come and go, headlines fade, and public attention eventually moves elsewhere. But certain moments leave a lasting impression because they reveal deeper realities that cannot easily be hidden. According to many observers, this is one of those moments. The alleged confrontation highlighted divisions that had reportedly existed beneath the surface for years. While public appearances often project unity and stability, insiders have long suggested that relationships within the royal household are far more complicated than they appear. Whether those tensions can be fully repaired remains uncertain. Sources claim that trust, once damaged, is difficult to restore. Public disagreements may fade from memory, but the individuals involved continue carrying those experiences long after the cameras stop recording. That is why many analysts believe the consequences of this controversy could extend far into the future. At the center of that future remain William and Catherine. Over the past several years, they have steadily become the public face of the next generation of the monarchy. Their influence continues to grow, and many people now view them as the figures most likely to guide the institution through the decades ahead. That perception has created expectations unlike anything faced by previous generations. Supporters see them as symbols of continuity and renewal. Critics examine every decision they make. Either way, attention continues moving in their direction, making their role increasingly important with each passing year. According to commentators, that trend is unlikely to change. If anything, events such as the Garter Day controversy only reinforce how much focus now surrounds the Prince and Princess of Wales. Even stories that begin with other members of the royal family often end with discussions about William and Catherine's future responsibilities. Because ultimately, this story is not just about one day. It is about change. It is about influence. And it is about a monarchy preparing for its next chapter. As the institution moves forward, one thing appears increasingly clear: public attention is already shifting toward the future. And in the eyes of many observers, that future is being shaped more and more by William and Catherine with every passing year. In the end, what makes this entire story so compelling is not the alleged chart swap, the procession dispute, or even the public confrontation. It is the larger message people have taken from it. The story has become a symbol of a changing royal era, one where influence is shifting and new figures are stepping into greater prominence. For many royal watchers, the incident represents a turning point. Over the years, William and Catherine have gradually become the center of public attention. Their appearances generate enormous interest, their charitable work receives widespread coverage, and their popularity continues to grow both in Britain and internationally. Whether by design or by circumstance, they have become the faces most closely associated with the monarchy's future. That reality has created a new dynamic within the institution. As older generations continue carrying out their duties, the public increasingly looks toward the next generation. Every event, every appearance, and every decision is viewed through the lens of what the future might look like once William eventually assumes a larger leadership role. According to analysts, that shift is already underway. People are paying closer attention to William's decisions, Catherine's public engagements, and the way they handle pressure. Their ability to remain composed during periods of intense scrutiny has become one of their defining strengths. That may be why this story attracted so much attention. At its heart, it presents a contrast between conflict and stability, between uncertainty and confidence, between old rivalries and emerging leadership. Whether every detail is accurate or not, those themes resonate with audiences because they reflect broader questions about change and succession. Meanwhile, the monarchy itself continues moving forward. Royal institutions have survived controversies, scandals, and internal disagreements throughout history. Each generation faces its own challenges, and each era introduces new personalities, new priorities, and new expectations. This moment appears to be no different. As discussions continue and speculation remains widespread, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The future conversation surrounding the royal family is likely to focus less on past disputes and more on what comes next. And what comes next, according to many observers, will be shaped largely by William and Catherine. Their influence continues growing. Their responsibilities continue expanding, and public interest in their future remains stronger than ever. Perhaps that is the real reason stories like this generate such intense debate. They are not simply about royal ceremonies or palace disagreements. They are about transition. They are about the passing of influence from one generation to another. And they are about the individuals who will eventually carry the monarchy into its next chapter. Whether people view this story as a cautionary tale, a power struggle, or simply another dramatic royal controversy, its lasting significance comes from what it reveals about the direction of the institution itself. The headlines will eventually fade. The speculation will eventually quiet down. But the questions raised by this story will remain. Who will define the monarchy's future? Who will shape its public image? And who will ultimately lead it into a new era? For many observers, the answer seems clearer today than ever before. And that is why this story continues to capture attention long after the procession itself has ended.